in the bulletin if you want to take it along. And I usually just say in my heart instead of the squiggly word there. But you've got the idea that fits quite well. Our slides are catching up to where we are today. And I'm here to say that we're going to be celebrating, as we have already been doing, our partnership with Tanzania. The insert in your bulletin shows on the cover the covenant that we were able to sign with our partners in Tanzania. And and I referenced the banner when I did the readings earlier on. This was our gift from Tanzania that Pastor Lama brought with him when he was here in 2015. And he has one just like it in his office, back in Tanzania. But it was a gift to us to celebrate our partnership at that point. This is a picture of all of the 13 delegates who went to Tanzania this last summer. 6 representatives from St. Luke's and 7 from Ascension. All of the delegates are named on a bio sheet on the bulletin board by the side parking lot entrance. So I'm not going to take a lot of time here to be sharing that because our time is very limited. We cannot experience a full Tanzania worship service, which could run 2, 3, or even 4 hours long on special occasions. And when we were there, they considered it to be a special occasion. So we were able to visit all 8 of the churches that we are partners with. Not all on one day, because that wouldn't work out very well. We ended up going on for Friday services, Saturday services, Monday services, Tuesday services, all right? So we had a chance to visit all 8 of them. And because one pastor, Pastor Lama, is responsible for 6 different churches, it was a very special event to have the pastor be there with us and to be able to have communion and to perform baptisms. So people came on Tuesday and had a really good worship service happening because normally the pastor can only be there 1 in 6 Sundays. And then the lay pastors or evangelists run the services otherwise. Right, so the covenant, as I said, is the foundation of our... And my remote control is not working, so we're going to have to ask Star to do the advancing for me to the next slide. What you see on the bulletin insert is our covenant. And the number one expectation there that we've agreed to as part of our partnership is that we will pray for each other at every opportunity, especially as part of our regularly scheduled worship services. We've actually designated the Common Day of Prayer to be the last Sunday in September for the greater Milwaukee City and with our partners in Tanzania. One huge example of an answer to prayer is that the Holy Spirit moved Ascension to join our partnership in response to Pastor Lama's presentation there in 2015 when he was in the United States. So now we have the 8 churches split up, the 5 on the left being our partners and the 3 on the right being the partners for Ascension. When the Lutherans in Tanzania hear the call to worship, as Pastor mentioned, they would be walking to church. You can see the circles there. That represents a 2-kilometer radius. So right in the center on the left was where Moroni got started. And then they reached out and set up another church about 2 kilometers away. And then they reached out and set up another church about 2 kilometers away. And then set up the other circle of churches off on the other side. These were each mission churches, reaching out to the others in their community. The Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tanzania is one of the largest and fastest growing Lutheran churches in the world, with 6.5 million members. Living Lutheran Magazine did a feature in 2016 entitled Evangelism Tanzanian Style. Evangelism to them means taking care of people's needs, as Jesus did. Living out the gospel in this way is a reason for the phenomenal growth of the Lutheran Church in Tanzania over the last few decades. So at this point, Sandy's going to share with you what it's like to worship there.
What it's like to worship there. Awesome. Worshiping anywhere is awesome. But worshiping there was a special, different. How can things be different and the same? I don't know. The call to worship, and then we had tea. Now, we have a lot of coffee over there with the Mount Meru coffee, which comes from there, Tanzania, to here. They have tea, which is like a chai tea. A lot of fresh fruit, watermelon, cucumbers, avocados, a lot of fruit. So we invite you afterwards to please join us for a little style of the tea. I know I tried to say how it can be different and the same. People are sitting not in padded pews, on hard benches, and maybe those plastic lawn chairs for 2 and 3 hours, and definitely praising the Lord. Even if it was in Swahili, the cadence, and you knew what was going on. Pastor Chris from Ascension at times would start something in English, and then Pastor Lima would do it in Swahili. And sometimes there were interpreters behind us, a couple of us, kind of interpreting what the sermon was. But as we started the Lord's Prayer, they started the Lord's Prayer, you just knew that it was the Lord's Prayer by, I don't know, the Spirit, I guess. You knew. And you joined in. A wonderful experience. Yes, maybe you had to be there. We're hoping that with what we share a little with you today, you can get a feeling of that. They being the Tanzanian people, shared the gift of the chalice, the wine chalice, and the plate that's on the altar that Pastor will use today to serve communion to us. So communion is the same, being together, worshiping. I know here I feel I worship, and it's kind of there was this feeling of praising God. The music, everything. Or maybe they just moved around a lot because it was a long time, I don't know. But it was definitely praising God. So it was wonderful. Please take note of the gifts from Tanzania, our wonderful chalice set. Thank you. There. Baptism, one of the things we got to do, and you would recognize it. And no matter what languages it was, you would recognize the baptism. Pastor Chris was, if you were to ask him, he would say it was one of the highlights of his participation in the service when he got to baptize 8 babies and 1 adult. And again, because of that being a special occasion, everyone was there. It was always a feeling of celebration at church.
The choirs at the churches were very inspirational. Go. And it's usually a lot louder than this. So use your imagination. You've heard some of the African music before, and it was just phenomenal. And just like that. Okay, most of the other choirs are just like our traditional choirs. Just a lot more colorful, dressed up in the same uniforms or whatever you want to say. And they also have offerings. And like Diane said, they're up to 3 offerings a day. The members of the congregation would walk up to the front of the church and give their donation, their offering. And this could be 3 eggs, could be corn, a cup of corn, or it could be a chicken, or even a goat. They give whatever they can for the offering. And it was very fun to participate in an auction they have afterwards. Some of the people brought items to share, blankets, scarves, and some of the people even bought some of the items. Eggs, which Sandy was very familiar with, broke with you. And also goats and chickens. And we would donate them to somebody else in the church. And also, St. Luke's purchased 3 trees that were planted at each church as a sign of the growing partnership. These trees will provide shade in the churchyards where the people often gather for teas before service or for social time after service. The church is the main social area. There are no parking lots, no paved sidewalks, and they all walk to church.
Mutual understanding of God's inspiration to share life abundant, our friends in faith shared hospitality of food, drink, and clothing at each contact. It was pretty amazing. They gave many pieces of Kenga cloth, is what Sandy and I are wearing. We did buy these. These weren't gifts, but they did wrap us in the Kenga. So I will be sharing some examples of these words from the gospel. At the Maharoni Government School, here's where we're sharing the tea. At Maharoni Government Primary School, one of 4 schools where our member partners' children attend, the school year started in January with 600 students and 13 teachers. The children require a tuition of 400 kilograms of maize, which is a bag of corn, and 4 kilograms of beans to participate in their hot lunch program, which is a couple of ladies perhaps in the back cooking on a wood fire in a big kettle, the beans and the maize together to make what we would call a porridge to give to the children. Only 200 of the 600 students are fed a hot lunch each day at Maharoni. That fact moved us to action, mostly because they can't afford to bring the tuition. So part of our program here of the beans and maize initiatives have been to send money there to help them buy those products. We left them with cash to buy corn now because it was the harvest season, and within a week pictures arrived of the bags of corn and beans that they delivered to the schools that will be fed as meals to each of the children each day. We want to praise the Lord for that and thank you for your help in the gifts of maize and beans. When you see me thirsty, we share, as we said, the teas. They would give us drinks every time we were there. The Vacation Bible School here in 2017 raised funds for a water tank at Savannah Elementary School that is used to collect rainwater for the students to drink. There are no wells in close proximity, and they must bring water with them if they're to have some to drink, but this has alleviated some of that problem. When I needed clothes and you clothed me, these students gathered to thank St. Luke's for the uniforms and hot lunch tuition support that St. Luke's has shared over the years with our Maize and Beans campaign. So in addition to the food that they are to bring for tuition, they all need to have a uniform. And as we were traveling around the area, you started to know that different grade levels had different colored uniforms. The elementary students all had these sweaters, and the high school students had different colors for the different grades. So that was kind of neat to, I know where they're going to school or what grade level they're in. Another participation in the synod level, as well as from here, we've provided funds for professional education fund that helps with bringing new pastors, evangelists, and teachers to the diocese there, and that they can, all of these congregations are able to have someone be in their presence to provide the services. And while we were there for a 4-hour service, this evangelist was ordained, and afterward he invited us to his home for a continued celebration, and it was just packed with people, and we were the honored guests to be there. As Diane said earlier, one pastor was serving the 6 churches, and the lay people provide the Sunday services on a regular basis, and he makes around to get to the different churches for the communion and baptisms and those types of things. So again, Asante Sana for all your efforts in providing funds and prayers and inspiration to us for traveling. Thank you.
Often their service would include a second offering. Because of the special events like the ordination, or when it was a fundraiser, there might be a third, fourth, even fifth offering that they'd be calling for. Instead of calling you up to give an offering to support our partnership, there is a basket by the welcome station where you can make a donation at this point, or during the month of October, it's been designated to be our monthly mission for the Tanzania partnership. So anytime during October, you can support some of the initiatives that we're talking about. Again, the insert, for the sake of condensing things in our time here, I've shared on the back a list of the specific prayer requests of the two pastors in our partnership area. And you'll notice 1, 2, and 3 on the list are all about food, water, and fees for the primary and secondary students. A chance for the kids there to get a good education. And as a retired educator, that resonates with me. Our Maize and Beads initiative that we started when we went 4 years ago is definitely something that they've needed and benefited from, and we just discovered that there's so much more need than what we had realized originally. Also on this list, you can see the idea of supporting adult education and encouraging economic opportunities through microloans, a goat project, and 2 milling machines. And we got to thinking, what's a milling machine, when they suggested that idea? And it really is what we would call a grist mill. If any of you have like farming roots like I do, it's like, oh, okay. It's when you take things and you put it into that machine that you see there, you put the corn in, and it gets ground up and comes out as flour. So again, because they're so church-centered, they'll have this at church, that the farmers can bring it there and do the conversion, to flour of some of the corn that they have. So it's one of the things that I would have never thought would be part of mission outreach, but it's part of what they need to be able to share that community of caring that's part of their church setting. So our time is up. Again, you can review the list of the many more challenges that are listed there. And as you leave, please remember that come and ask us questions about our experience. Please read the Tanzania partnership section of the epistle each month. Look to the St. Luke's website for some of the examples of the sharing that we've done. And help us now to pray for our partners in Tanzania, that God will continue to bless our partnership with them. Asante Sana. Oops. Went too far. Thank you for listening and for your ongoing support.